I have quite a number of people on the call, and more people are still joining the call. So let me just admit them. I see our facilitator as well is on the call. I'm so grateful that you all joined the call early. It's a very good one. Thank you so much. So we're going to begin now. Uh, like I mentioned before, this is Testars Quarter, and we are the most active software testing community in Africa. Our focus is empowering both people that are new to the field and already practicing product quality engineers. We ensure that they have the resources, the support, and the mentorship that is required for them to succeed in their career. We have a lot of things that we do to achieve that, and that speaks of our programs. One of our programs is a check-in call, which we call a work check-in call, which we call the Testers Quarter office hour, where people are working and they decide to get on a call. Probably we call it the 3 C's of our community: to connect, contribute, and to collaborate. Where on every Wednesday by 1 p.m. you can just hop on a call, you ask questions. If you have any block at work, you have new tools that you're using and you feel it is it can be useful to somebody there, you can come on the call and share it. So we have had amazing reviews about our Testers Quarter office hour. How this is the famous one. How somebody asked the question on the office hour and got a response which she used in an interview that got her a senior role. Yay! Can we give can we drop a favorite emoji for that? Yeah, 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 yeah. Yes. You see, little things matters, Just getting on a call can get you that next job that you want. Yes, so our programs, one of them is the Testers Quarter Office Hour I just mentioned, 1 p.m. Wednesday, every Wednesday. And we have our Friday Study Buddy, which I also call the Testers Quarter webinar every Friday by 8 p.m. We also have the Global AMA Fireside Chat, where we have a relaxed conversation with an expert in the field. The last one we had was Larry Goddard, who has over 20 years of experience as in sectors from military to fashion to aviation, and he has quite a number of years of experience across multiple industries. We had a conversation with him last week, and it was very interesting. We also have local community quarterly hangouts. We have scholarship boot camp. We are presently on the cohort 2 of our Testers Testers Quarter scholarship boot camp. And we have, if you have any scholarship student on the call, let me see your reaction. Yeah, let me see your reaction. Yeah, Kenneth. Yes, Ola Bello, that's your class rep. Thank you so much for being on the call. We have mentorship program. We have annual gathering and conferences, testathon, live. We go on live, probably on IG, LinkedIn, or X. And we have fun and comedy movie night. We also have test merchandise, where we have organizations reach out to us. We want you to test our application, and then we'll throw it open to the community. And people that are able, are selected, we test the app, and then they get paid. So moving forward, I'm going to be calling out people that are just joining our community for the first time so that we can give you a shout out. If this is your first call, it is the time for us to meet you and for you to meet us. Do we have anybody on the call? This is your first call. Where are you? Where are you? I see a lot of people joining. Kenneth, Daniel. Yeah, thank you so much. We're glad to have you. You're going to love it here because you cannot be in Testers Quarter and not advance in your career. It is not possible. Last weekend, last Friday, we had Rashida Jidawa, who taught us on API testing with Postman and understanding responses. It was a very unique webinar because she taught a lot of people that have even been doing API testing before can attest to the fact that she took that lesson very personal. Yes, Rashida, if you can hear me, thank you so much for that. So I'm going to be introducing our facilitator shortly. So I will just, our facilitator, please just kindly get ready for your introduction. I'm going to be introducing you shortly. Today we have the honor of having Ridwan with us. With Ridwan Abdulazeez is a senior QA engineer. And if you do not know, for people that doesn't know, Ridwan is also an alumni of Testify Academy. You know, we always mention Testify Academy. Testify Academy is our partner organization for training today. Like, apart from all this 1 hour training that we have in our community, if you want to dig deep, you want to learn more in software testing or test automation, we have our test automation school where you can learn more about test automation. And he's one of our alumni there, and they are also one of the pioneer members of Testars Quarter. Yes. So we have Ridwan here. He's a skilled software quality assurance engineer with experience in both manual and automation testing. He began his tech journey as a technical support engineer and has worked across fintech, banking, telecoms, and health tech sectors. He specializes in API testing, functional regression, and performance testing, and he is proficient with tools like Selenium, Postman, Jira, and JMeter. He has a strong grasp of agile methodologies. He's also known for his process-driven approach, technical versatility, and problem-solving mindset. He's passionate about continuous improvement, values clean processes, and thrives in collaborative teams where quality and innovation are top priority. Ridwan, everybody, help me to welcome Ridwan. Ridwan, are you there? As it takes us on this very important topic on test coverage and how to manage our test cases. Ridwan,
Hi,
you're welcome.
hi. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
You're welcome.
I'll be sharing my screen right about now. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, us too.
Okay, just a minute. I'll be turning on my video too, so you can put a name to, you can put a face to the name. Am
Yay.
I visible? Good evening,
Yes,
everyone.
good evening.
So my name is Ridwan Abdulazeez. As the presenter, the host has mentioned, we'll be taking ourselves through a very important topic, I would say I want us to make it very interactive. And so join me in presenting, planning and executing comprehensive test coverage. A lot of times, right, trying to navigate my career, I know that there were days we were out there. Please, do you have a test plan uh, template that you can share with me? I need a test plan. So, however, right, one of the things I've learned over the years is that you necessarily do not need to cram these things. You don't need to cram terminologies. You just need to believe in the process, right? So what is test coverage, right? So we know we test, and some of us, we know for those that are testers on the call, they are familiar with test cases, test scenarios. But when we say coverage, we want to see the whole of what we are testing for, right? So let's commence into the presentation proper. So when we want to discuss test coverage, right? We are going to also be discussing shift left testing. I was anchoring an interview recently, and this was one of the questions I asked an individual, right? But unfortunately, the answer that I was expecting did not come the way I wanted it. What do you understand by shift left testing? So, like it sounds, right? Shift to the left. So, this is actually a testing approach where testing activities start in the software development lifecycle. So, we start testing from the requirement gathering, the design phase, the development phase itself, rather than we wait till the whole of the application has been built. A lot of times in some organizations, you only be called as a tester after the engineers are finished building, right? QA, developer don't do this, so yeah, contest. That is not how to test. So when we discuss shift left, we started testing at the beginning of the software development. So immediately we are discussing what we want to build. When we are selling the ideas, software testing has actually started. That is why we have what we call static testing and dynamic testing. So static testing, you are testing your test artifacts, right? So we cannot discuss having a comprehensive test coverage without starting early and having the right artifacts. So now, for software testing, if there is no process, if there is no process in place, your software testing is going to be faulty. There is no how you can go about it. Okay, full screen, just a moment. How do I do that? Screen. Okay, just a moment. Is it clear now?
We are not seeing your screen.
Screen anymore. Okay, just a moment. Just a moment.
All right.
One. So, are you seeing my screen yet?
Not yet.
How about now?
Yes. Perfect.
Okay, okay. Sorry about that. So, we are discussing shift left, right? So, like I was saying, we can't discuss that we want to have a good coverage without starting to test early, right? So now I would go to the next slide. So here we are going to be discussing test plan. Like it sounds, plan, tests. So we are familiar with these words, but now let us combine them and see how we can go about this. So before we even start to test, we should do what? We plan, right? So before we test, we plan, right? We must know what we are planning for. That means we have a product, right? So for the purpose of this class, we are going to take on a project called Nigerian Dishes Recipe. It's going to be an API application, right? So we want to build a product called Nigerian Dishes Recipe. So this API would allow users to create recipes, edit the recipes they've created, and also an admin can delete a recipe, right? So now We are aware of what? We are aware of the product we want to build. The next thing are what are the things we want to test. So we already know that we are testing an API called Nigerian Dishes Recipe, right? So now, what are the things we want to test? So when we discuss what we want to test, then the next thing is how do we approach testing? So these questions, right, they are very key. How do we want to approach testers? What is the technology of the product that is being built? Oh, this product is built using is built using JavaScript, is built using Java. The essence of this, right, is that some of these applications, right, they have their own uniqueness. So we need to also understand what is the capacity of the development team. So when we talk of the development team in Agile and Scrum, they are not discussing just the developers. When they say development team, it comprises of the QA, the BA, the PM, everybody combined together is what we call the development team. So these projects, right, what is the duration, right? So we need to also have an idea of what the duration is. So these questions are very necessary before we can have a comprehensive test coverage. So because we have started asking these right questions, right, before work has started, so we would have a good coverage of our test itself. So now, during our requirement gathering, we found out that our product has the following features. What are the features? A user can register, a user can log in. This user can also create a new recipe. If a user has created a new recipe, it can also do what? Update an existing recipe. Now, what can the admins do? The admins can delete recipe. He can view the recipe logs and the history. So based on these informations we have, right, we can proceed to creating a test coverage checklist. So these are the things that we are going to start marking to say, okay, I have X, Y, Z. So now I listed some items and I have a note that we are going to explain. So now we have the requirements. So we have these documents I shared, right? This is our requirements, right? We already know what our requirement is. So we've reviewed these requirements and we start taking notes as testers. Our instincts start working from the beginning that, oh, this application has user roles, right? And I should know what are the API verbs, the HTTP verbs that will be used. I will be having a get. So looking at this, right? I'll be having a post in my register/login. I'll be having a post for my create new recipe. I'll be having a put or patch for updates, right? I'll be having a delete. I'll be having a get. So we start understanding what are the things that our applications would have. So now we have API documentations to be provided by the developers. So our API documentation could either come in Swagger or in Postman collection, whichever one has been adopted in the environment. So now we have authentication flows that we need to test. We need to test the login. We need to test the token. That is the user token, the admin token. We need to test for the expiry of this token. We need to test for invalid users. So as testers, we are already doing what? We are already thinking ahead. Then we start asking questions when necessary. We know that we will be having positive test cases scenario. We will be having, so part of our positive test cases are validate recipe creation, updates, deletion. Some of our negative test cases in our head. I'll be testing for invalid input. I'll be testing for unauthorized access and stuff like that. So I'll pick it up later. We'll be testing for role-based we've identified that there's going to be a role-based. This application is going to be role-based. We would have things that our users would have permissions to and what our admin would have access to. So now, I was in a discussion recently and we were discussing what is the difference between a 401 and a 403. So a 401, we all know unauthorized, unauthorized, unauthorized. We have a forbidden. So in a scenario, you are testing for a token. You want this API you are testing for must be protected by rules and permission. So this particular endpoint is the only person that have access to it is the admin, right? Now, a user is trying to access it. Then the question was, what should be the response code? Should it be a 401 or a 403? Everyone was like, it's a 401, it's unauthorized. No, it's not that you are not authorized. You're authorized, but you do not have what? Permission. That is why a 403 is forbidden. It's a forbidden request. So now, in our, what the other thing we'll be thinking of is, we are going to automate because this thing is going to run over and over, right? Then we start looking at what are the main endpoints that we'll be testing for. And we can only test when what? When our endpoint, when our application is when it's in a state of stability, when it is stable, right? So we're looking at response validation. So just like I mentioned now, that I mentioned 401, 403, a status 200, a 405. Some of these status codes, we know we should be testing for them. That we should be looking at our schema. What does our schema look like? What does our content looks like? Then we are also knowing that, because they already mentioned to us here that our admin can view recipe logs and history. So there's going to be something like logs and monitoring. So have audit logs for the recipes, actions to be tested, right? So these are things that comes in our head. Then it's going to preempt us into the next set of activities that we would be performing. So now, what tools am I going to use to test this project? So for my planning for the whole software development cycle, I'll be using Jira. For my manual API testing, I'll be using Postman. For my automation, I'll connect my Postman via CLI to use Newman to run it, right? So at this point, right, all what we've been discussing now are things that would be part and parcel of our test plan. I've mentioned questions like the number of people, the number of people in the development team, the duration, the tools we'll be using, right? So at this point, something very, very important, that is the requirement traceability matrix. Which one is requirement traceability matrix, right? However, if we want to discuss requirement traceability matrix, we can't jump into it without discussing what? Our test case document. So our test case document is going to be, the output of our test case document will be an input to our requirement traceability matrix. So if you recollect at the beginning of the class, I mentioned that for us to test properly, there must be a process. If there is no process, then your whole testing is like building a house on an environment that there is no foundation. That house is going to collapse. So now, I have drafted sample test case documents. So I would want you to also do what? I would want you to look at this test case document with how it's going to fit into the requirement traceability matrix. So now, this is our test case document. We have test case ID. Please, let's pay attention to this. The test case ID, right? So this is our test case. We have the title, we have the preconditions, we have the test to step, steps to test. We have the expected results. So this is our test case document, right? So this is a long list, right? I don't want to bug you with these long lists. Now, this is now our requirement traceability matrix. Hope my screen is still very visible. Okay. So now this requirement traceability matrix, it has an ID, right? So our requirement traceability matrix 1 is talking about users should be able to register. When a user is able to register, look at, we are now bringing the test case IDs that goes in line with this requirement 1. So I will now take you back to the test case. Look at, we have users should be able to register. Now let's go back here. Look at our test case 1 and test case 2. We are discussing about user registration with valid data. We are discussing user registration with missing fields. Now look at our requirement gathering, our requirement traceability matrix. Our requirement traceability matrix 001 is talking to which test cases, the test case ID 1 and test case ID 2. So our test case ID 1 is like it's a primary key in itself, but it serves as a foreign key in the requirement traceability matrix. So this is how, as a test leader, right, you see through what has been captured. So with this, I know all of the items we should test. I know what our software requirement document is saying. Then this requirement traceability matrix helps me to identify that, okay, these items, we already have them, and we have corresponding test cases to these items. So still within our test requirement traceability matrix, right? We can also identify our test types, that, okay, these ones are functional, these ones are role-based, these ones are security tests, these ones are performance tests, right? So, and within our test plan itself, we are going to identify the things that will be going in our primary sprint 1, sprint 2, the things within our test, and things outside. That is why you see covered either yes or a no. So we must identify that, okay, for this product, right, we are doing in our MVPs. These are the things we are, what are MVPs? These are minimum viable products. So we must identify our MVPs, what we will be going live with, right? So the next thing, now, I know people are going to be curious and asking questions like, why do I have to write test cases before the development? Is it even possible? Calm down. It is actually very possible. And that is what we refer to as TDD, test-driven development. So TDD is a software development approach where tests are written before the actual code. So the goal is to write, so the goal of TDD actually is for us to write our tests. So the developers would only write code to do what? To speak into the test cases we have written. So TDD is very possible, and it is adopted in some environments. It is adopted in some environments, believe you me. So what TDD does, so most times when you have TDD, you now start hearing things like having Gherkin syntaxes, where you write your test cases in human readable form. To say, okay, as a user, I should be able to log in, When I log in, then so Gherkin syntaxes have the given that I am on the login page, then I input my username, right? Then I input my password, then I click on submit. So you write your test cases in human readable language. So now to speak into this, you now start saying things like behavioral driven development. But in this case, we are focused on test driven development, whereby we write our test cases before development even starts itself. So with this, right, we now see what our test plan should contain, right? From the beginning, we discussed what? We discussed that we asked some specific questions. What are the things we want to test? We want to test an API that is doing what? That is helping us create dishes, Nigerian recipe dishes, right? We also do what? How do we want to approach tests? So we know that, okay, in this environment, we are not doing TDD. However, we are adopting shift left testing. We are testing at the beginning of the project itself. Then the next thing is, what is the technology of the tool, of the product being built? So this is going to give, is going to require, is going to give birth to some other things, which are, if we have a React, if you've had to automate on React before, there is this way that most React applications, if the developers are not, or there is no standardization in terms of writing codes within the organization, you'd notice that for every time you test, your test locators are going to be changing. So because you've asked this question from the beginning, what is the technology to be used? Then you start ensuring that the developers have a coding standard to help you add test IDs to every locator that are visible. So now, what is the capacity of the development team? So we have 10 developers, or we have 15 developers, 1 PM, 1 QA. Within a night, developers, for those of us that are QAs, right? Maybe by 10 PM or 5 PM, if it's a good environment, maybe by 4:55, the developers should just drop like 15 tickets for you, or probably stand up is 8 AM in the morning. Developers have dropped 15 tickets on you by 7:55 AM, and they want these things to go live like yesterday. So we need to know the capacity of the development team. We need to know the resources. We need to know the number of QAs that would be sufficient for our projects. Do you understand? So what is the duration? So it could be that, oh, this project is a long-term project, right? That we'll be building, there will be iterations on it, right? So we know that, okay, we'll be having discussions based on sprints. Okay, sprint 1, these are minimum viable products. Sprint 2, that is our next viable products, and so on and so forth. So at this juncture, so I would not want to bore us with too many things. Like I said, I want it to be an interactive session. So now it's question time, right? Questions are guaranteed in life, but answers are not. So I like using this anytime I'm speaking. So you could ask me a question. If I don't know it, it's not wrong that I don't know it. The next thing we need to do is we have to
You are
go and
giving
learn.
us disclaimer.
So, but it's time for us to interact now. It's time for interaction. So
Yes, thank
let
you
our
so much,
questions come
Ridwan.
in.
Yes, that was so spot on, insightful. You mentioned some words, TDD, BDD. You also mentioned things like test cases, how to, then you also mentioned leadership in testing, which is, we said this is an intermediate course, right? But then you are touching some arms that has to do with leadership, and anybody that listen very well to this lesson, you'll be able to manage a team of.
So it's the young ones that becomes the leaders tomorrow.
Yeah,
So it's
thank you
from
so much.
intermediate we move upward.
Yes,
So I
thank
think
you so
someone
much.
has
I
his
really
hands
like
up.
the session. Noah, Noah, your hand is up. Can we have you?
Or are you doing a virtual exercise? Hi, Noah, you can unmute.
Noah, you're muted. Okay, so let's take Wasil then. If
Okay.
Noah is not ready to speak.
Okay.
Wasil. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Well
Good
done
evening.
for the wonderful presentation. So I just need a clarity on something, like
Okay.
the practical example you brought, that we are building a dish recipe. When we are not, it's somehow that's why I said I need clarity, that we are building it or we are testing it, because we are not the developer here.
Yeah, so that is why I said that we are doing shift left testing. So being a tester, you are part of the project. So that's why we mention we mention both the QA, the product, everybody as a development team. So you are coming in. So we are not saying I'm just a tester. This is my product, right? So you own the product itself. Apart from being a product owner, project, so you are owning the product, that my products that I'm building. So now what is my role in this product that we are building? My own role is that I'm testing. So that is why I said that the first thing we need to know is that we need to be involved from the beginning. We are building a product. My organization is building a product. I am working on that product. So this is me. This my own role within the development team is a tester. Do you understand? So my role within that product itself is me being a tester. However, in Scrum study, right, we call everybody, the BA, the PM, Scrum Master, everybody, we call everybody together as a development team, and it is on purpose. So we call everybody a development team. So your engineering manager, everybody together is a development team. But it cannot be by Scrum study, right? By Scrum book, you are not supposed to be more than 8 individuals in a development team. So, but that's another discussion for another class anyway.
Thank you for that. We have Ibrahim. He said, my question is, what is the relation
So,
with shiftless and be mobile in SDLC?
So, you know the V model, right? That is the waterfall. So when we talk of waterfall, right, we know that this is not going to happen before. When this happens, so in the V shape, right, you have what's it called? There's development, there's testing. This you test, this you test. However, right, shift left testing does not care what kind of model you're using. Shift left does not care. Is that you as a tester, you are involved from the beginning. You are involved from the beginning. You start answering the right questions. You start asking the right questions and getting the right answers. Now, being a tester, we are not checking check boxes. He passed, pass. No, that is not just our work. We are ensuring that even the test process itself, that is why one of the things, if you read ISCQB at the beginning, there's this discussion around what is software testing and what is quality assurance. Software testing is the act of you doing what? Testing the product itself. But when we talk of quality assurance, we ensure that everything is in the right form, is in the right format. Things are done appropriately. So one of the things you are doing as a quality assurance engineer is that you are ensuring that this is in place, that is in place. I ensure that I have my test plan. You are ensuring that the developers are having their documentation being provided. So you see, it is not about me just checking that, okay, this test passed, this test does not pass. You are also ensuring that the DevOps guy has set up your environment. Is this environment accessible? When you are doing your smoke, your sanity test and the rest of it, this is you doing quality assurance. It is not just you marking the checklist. It pass, you know, pass. That's why there's a difference between quality assurance and software testing. Ibrahim, hope I answered your question. Is shift left testing synonymous with agile methodology? So, when we discuss this, right, some organizations do agile and they don't practice shift left testing. But if you see the way this has been presented, see, a lot of things happen in the book. When it comes to the real life, it doesn't happen that way. It is understandable. That is why as testers, that is why they would tell you that not everybody can test. Anybody can just carry this thing. Not everybody can test. Because why? There are some inbuilt skills that you should have as a tester. So now, I'm testing within an organization. You do not call me to tell me that you have an application to build. And at the time you are finishing the product, you are telling me, Ridwan, come and test. Come and test what? Do I have the SRD? Do I even know what to test for? Because a lot of times you realize that in this setup, you are only doing exploratory testing. Does find bug, does they find bug. Yeah, test no correct. That is your work. But that is not actual software testing. So it is kind of synonymous, but in some environments, you just see that they are not even there. They've developed, and they just call you at the end of the product. Hey, this application is going live tomorrow. We want you to come and test. I beg, no be juju be that.
All right, thank you so much for that.
Answer.
We have some people raising up your hand. We have Ogwe. Sorry, I might have massacred your name. Are you? Your hand is raised. You have the floor now.
Yeah. Thank you, bros. I agree. You've done a lot here. Thank you very much. All right, but I am concerned in a certain area. You said TDD, and there you said that the tester writes test, and the developer will have to use your test to build their work. That's where I'm kind of concerned, because I know that TDD usually the developer writes unit tests, and they use that to check their work while they are developing it. They do what we call pseudo code to check how their hardware and do their diagram, to connect what they are supposed to build. But what are not clear is the tester writing tests for developer in TDD. I just wanted to expatiate, throw light and salt put for that one. Yeah. Thank you.
So, okay. I've been in an organization and we realized that testers are not writing test cases. A lot of us there's no sense, so don't quote me. So, and we're looking at how best can we develop quality. So this is where shift left testing comes in. The engineering manager, the management said, no, the tester must be at the beginning. So the developers writing their pseudo code or whatsoever is still dependent on what you have written. So come up with test cases. The test cases would be reviewed by the QA manager, or the product owner, and the engineering manager would agree to say that this is exactly what we want to build. We are saying that we don't want to rely on the developers to write codes, because a lot of times these guys will write, they will just cook beans for us and give those beans to us. So now, I don't want to rely on you. I don't believe you as a developer. I want to believe my QA. So now the power is on the QA. So this power now is more work for you, because you see, okay, a developer who we assume has experience is building an application to request for phone numbers. The phone number format in Nigeria, most likely it could have a +234. Some organizations will just strip out the +234. So now the questions now start coming in. Where is this application going to be used? Right? This application is going to be used just in Nigeria. The phone number in Nigeria are 11 digits. So if I've stripped out the 234 and the 0 before it, the first 0, right, takes the 234. So I should have 10 digits. If I had the +234, it's going to be 14 digits. If I'm taking the approach of add my 0 for me, I don't need the 234. That means it is 11 digits. Now, your developer, in his own mercy, gives that input field to take 20 digits. You know that if you are written the test cases, you are specified in that test case that this is a Nigerian phone number. This is the format. It's going to be building to tailor into what you have written. So whatever the pseudo code, the unit test is writing, will still speak into what the product owner. So when you're doing TDD, the product owner is actively involved, is working in sync with you. You are not just writing the test cases, you are writing the test case alongside with the product owner. So the product owner becomes your girlfriend, becomes your boyfriend at work, to ensure that this is exactly what you want to build, and is building. You are writing the test cases that speak into, because now, if your organization now even goes in the way of, goes in line with Gherkin syntaxes, where you write your test cases in human readable format, right? So you now start saying that the developers would have a lot to do. They would have a lot to do, because now I'm writing both edge cases and normal positive test cases and negative test cases for you. So whatever you are writing must be speaking into what I've written for you.
All right.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Please, I get what you said, but usually what I notice is it is the product owner that writes, what needs to be done. Then we test and we use that to build our test cases. Then developers to do their unit test case with what the product owner have, built or developed for us. Then what I'm not so sure is whether we are the one that will not tell the product owner, say this is what we want to test. I think it comes from him to us, not to me.
So, like I said, the product owner has specified that this is what we want to write. And remember, I did this. We are working in sync. So he has written to us the acceptance criteria. We come up with test cases. So the test case, you are working in conjunction with the product owner. You are working in conjunction. There is no separation between the two of you in this scenario. When you are doing what's it called? TDD. So I think the next.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah.
My battery is low. It's already saying battery saver is
Testars Quarter, not muted.
I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much.
We have Victor raising up his hands. Let's answer him before his hands start paining him.
Okay, yeah, very quickly. Thank you so much for this. Yes. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I was thinking that this class would be more longer than this, but I say it was very fast. But thank you. Yes, I agree with you 100% that it is done in the shift. That's the early testing. That's the static testing. But what about, you mentioned that most times you always see that QAs are always coming at the right shift right. That's meant, or when the software is built. Is it very possible for a QA to have a test coverage for all the features and not miss, like have like 80% coverage of in the left shift right? Maybe that's after deployment. You understand how my question is going?
So, so now you don't have idea of what had been built. How can you have coverage about it?
No, based on, no,
So
it's
because
already built.
yes, that's what I'm saying. It's already built. You don't have, you were not involved at the beginning of what was done. You can have full coverage. That is why. So one of the things, it's, so we should take software testing as critical as being a pilot. It's not just about checking if it passes, if it fails. So in this scenario, right, you are not involved. So you remember I mentioned something like QA is a process. Quality assurance is a process. If you do not have process in place, what you are doing is not QA. It's not QA in the first place. Like you are just rigmaroling. You are not doing software testing. So in such cases, right, now let me tell you the danger of it. This product has been built and you want to have it, you are doing shift right. It has been built. At times, it's already on staging environment or even in beta, and you are being involved. And in that case, most likely, these people that have this mindset is that what they just want is probably the CTO is asking for a sign off from you being the tester. They don't care if you have test cases. Ideally, people that do this, they don't care if you have test cases. Our own is, I beg, let this thing just let it go. That is what happens a lot of times. So now you are supposed to have so ideally, right, within the environment, you have story points to each of the tickets. You as a QA should also have story point to write your test cases. So now the developers are done. They are now waiting for you to finish your tests. Then everybody is on you, swamping on you like bees. Guy, now you the hold us, now you the hold us back. How do you want to give the right artifact? It won't work. It won't work. It's like, okay, I finished building this house. I now want to lay foundation on the house I've finished building. How is it going to work? There is no shortcuts to it. I hope I'm able to answer you properly.
Wait, are you saying that there will not be a proper? I cannot have percent of test coverage for that thing, for that test. Is that what you're saying, please?
What you are doing, you are just trying to do just to tick the box. That's what you are doing. Just to tick the boxes. Just to tick the
Because
boxes.
this particular
Yeah.
thing, this particular test coverage came to me, and someone was saying that you should be able to do a test coverage of something that is already set, because I know that yes, test coverage can only be possible with this explanation that you made. So I was not thinking in my head that hey, how is it possible I can do it? So thank you for helping us out with this.
So I would answer that scenario with what Beatrice is asking here. So being a tester, you are a mini champion if you know what you are doing. If you are not allowing beans to, you understand. I won't say more than that. So that you are what? The development team is ideally a football team. You know, you could have a bad I'm not a football fan actually, but you would have a bad striker. You could have a bad midfielder. You know, everyone of them can be crazy. But if you have a super goalkeeper, what he does is that there won't be goal. We may not score, but we will not concede. Is it not better for us? You agree with me that it is better for us to a very large extent. So you now being the goalkeeper, and you are allowing goals like Onana to score. You see, there's a problem. So you are the goalkeeper for the team. And as a tester, you should have a stand. Now, this is we discussing with ourselves. You should have a stand. Don't let yourself be pushed. Beatrice, now I'm marrying your question with what Victor is talking about. Don't let yourself be pushed. Because the first thing that will be asked is, who tested this application? It won't be, who is the developer who wrote this nonsense? Were you blind? Did you not see this? Those are the questions. Before it now starts hacking down to start saying, who did this? Who did that? But the first person that will get the gunshots, Kiwi. So that is why when you are in a situation where, so I do this when I'm asked to test and everybody is swarming me like bees and making me look like I'm the one that is delaying the project. And I have a report. I just they require me to send a report before it's allowed to be pushed to the beta environment or production environment. I will put a disclaimer that this happened while I was testing. So the CTO will not be like, wait, you guys didn't you see what this guy wrote here? Put it in document. Let it be documented. So if people want to be stupid to carry it, let them carry it without your hand in it. I have told you that this thing is not possible, it's not working. So you are telling me you want to carry it like that, carry it, but my hand is out of it. So when you don't put your name in that document, the whole team is stranded. And you stand on it that. So if they say, if now your city is saying, okay, Ridwan, I know that this is not working. We want to take the risk and let it go. You know, you have a concurrence. And most of the time, let this concurrence happen from the top. I remembered I was on a contract project. I was supposed to test a payment gateway. And on this payment gateway, there were a lot of business. Just in this scenario where they finish building, just QA come and test. And they said they wanted to go live. The things I saw, they fixed it. And the next question I asked, before I gave my concurrence, I have the reports ready. My next question was, where is the security clearance on this project? Has there been penetration tests done? Has there been vulnerability scan? I need to see them. Ridwan, why are you discussing? I said, but you informed me in the last minute. So give me the vulnerability scan or the servers you want to push these things to. Give me the. Do you know that project that they were already going live with spent another 2-3 months without going live? I told them I was not going to give a report. And they said they wanted to start that game. I just called the QA lead. Boss, these people want to go live and there's no vulnerability scan. So how do we want to go live? Case closed. Because so I'll be asking you, do you want to go live and go and lose your money? So choose. Okay, you want to go live. Well, go live and go and lose your money. It is as simple as that. So you are the one that will. So when you receive stray bullets, what you can do is that you will use them as human shield. You would have a bulletproof. Then you use them as human shield, even with your bulletproof. When they are shooting, you'll be the one collecting the bullets. It's as simple as that. That is just it. Don't bear somebody's son name where beans has been cooked. Call them out. If you don't, if it's going to take you 2 days to test, and somebody is asking you to test in 1 hour, and you know that the MVPs are not tested, please run, no, Murife, run. Don't even wait at all. Just move like speed of light. Don't wait. So do we still have questions before we call it a day?
All right. Thank you so much, Ridwan, for answering those questions. I see I have some hand raised. I believe he has answered your question. I know,
I think-
Ibrahim, your hand is still raised.
I
Kindly drop
think
your hand so that
Victor is doing virtual exercise. So I think Ibrahim can ask his questions.
all right, Ibrahim, you can go ahead. Ibrahim, yes, you have the floor. All right, I think
Good
Ibrahim.
evening.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for this wonderful session. I just have a question because I know that there was a time I was actually like giving a project to test. I think it was a website. So I requested for what they call this thing, like the requirements for the how they built the this thing. So they now said that there was no requirements, that I should just test it like that. I was confused. I
I
said,
was shocked. It is the way Ridwan did his face for me that hey, come to the club.
So this happens a whole lot of times. This happens a whole lot of times. So this is where experience actually comes in. This is where experience comes in. So now, to be very practical, there are some situations whereby there is a QA lead that you could always report these things to that boss. Maybe like, just collect it from them. Don't let them test it. But please, when you are writing, write it there as a report. If you are, so you know there are some organizations that everything is just on the Jira board. When the sprint closes, you close the sprint, and because even if it's on Jira board, that is a documentation on its own, right? But at times, documentation on Jira board could just be one liner. There is no acceptance criteria. There is no detail to what you are doing. That one today, it is what we have seen. There's nothing most have not seen in the gate. So it could be that it's just a one liner. On that ticket itself, whatever you are not comfortable with, please just write it there. Just write it there. Sometimes you could be the only QA in that environment, and you are at the bottom of the environment. I could give you a practical scenario. At some point in my career, I do development, right? Because of where I was, my background, I do development and stuff. I tested this. I'm the one that tested during my early phase, right? And the application was supposed to go live. So, however, we had something on our environment that if a transaction is less than 15 naira, we don't send SMS, we don't send mail because of the cost. Knowing that this was setting me up for failure. Then everything was fine, sent reports. Then we went on. So when we go to prod, right, it's not like it's an application that everybody can access yet. So it was just for internal users to test. I was the first person to test. Then I tested with 100 naira. I got the recharge card. I didn't get it there. I waited 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I called somebody in the core banking team. Please help me confirm. Was there any debit on my account? He said no. Another 100 naira. Even now we are on production, so 15 naira is not the case. another 100 naira. I just called my CTO, boss, I've cooked beans. I'm bringing down this application because I had it right. I was the one actually deploying. That, boss, I'm bringing down this application. I said, what happened? Boss, I'm coming to your office, come and tell you. I will put down the application. Do you know that after I left, the next QA was in its beginning phase? They lost about 150 million to this scenario. There was no actual debit, but there was value being given. So that's why some of these things, right? So that I said it could come that you are the only QA in that environment, and there's nobody to even report to because your guy that you're even reporting to is part of the corporate, is the one engineering them. But right, just put it there that you're not comfortable. Somehow there's a way, if you ask ChatGPT, how can I tell a senior person that is mad? It will tell you how to beat around the bush and tell the person that is not thinking properly.
All right, thank you so much, Ridwan, for that. Yes, definitely, by what Ridwan is saying that he has seen a lot of shiggy in the hands of multiple people at various organizations. Thank you so much, Ridwan, for sharing those insights. This is where we're going to be wrapping up for tonight because NEPA is showing me shiggy at my end too. So before my laptop switch off on you, we might need to wrap this up. Do we have any other comments, any other question? All right. In the absence of Victor, we'll see in the community. You can also follow Ridwan on LinkedIn. You can ask your questions there. Okay. Yes. It's always a PhD, please. Yes, about you. So guys, how many of you are aware of Nigerian Software Testing Week? We have a session coming up in September 1 to 6, and we're partnering with quite a number of community. We're going to be revealing them very soon, but be prepared. It's a paid event that's going to take place from September 1st to 6th, and 5 of which is the first 5 days going to be virtual, and the last day is going to be a physical event here in Lagos, Nigeria. So let us plan and prepare for that event. It's going to be a very big one to celebrate the Nigerian Software Testing Week. So this is where I'm going to be wrapping up for tonight. Thank you so much, Ridwan, for coming to Testars Quarter. We are so honored to have you. Thank you for all the insight. The recordings of this is going to be made available. I'm actually supposed to stream it live, but I had some technical issues, so I couldn't. So I'm going to be uploading it, and I'll be sharing the link with everybody. Thank you so much, guys, and let us have a lovely weekend. Bye.